the ceasefire talks?
We continue to push for ceasefire, but I'm not going to get into where things stand publicly.
Yeah, go ahead. There was reportedly another ceasefire proposal presented to the U.S. by Gal Hirsch in the Prime Minister's office, and all in all, which offered Sinwar, exile opportunities. What does the U.S. make of this? Do you think that's an actual realistic plan?
I don't think it's productive for me to comment on it publicly. I will say what you've heard us say before. We continue to push for a ceasefire. It continues to be our top priority when it comes to this conflict. The Secretary was engaged in these conversations yesterday with the President of Egypt and the Foreign Minister of Egypt. There are other conversations ongoing at different levels of our government with the intermediaries, but I don't think it's helpful for me to kind of comment publicly on various proposals that are floated.
Is it being considered at all seriously by the U.S. government?
I just don't think it's productive for me to talk publicly. But I'll say that the proposal that we continue to focus on is the one that the President laid out in his address on May 31st, that was endorsed by the United Nations Security Council, that was agreed to by Israel, that Hamas agreed to parts of and rejected parts of, and it has been the subject of negotiations for some time now. So, go ahead.
You say that they accepted part of and rejected part of, but they issued a statement. They accepted all of it way back then on the, the 3rd of July.
So I guess it depends what you mean by accepted. Accept with amendments is not accepting. They accepted and they had amendments, and let me just say, they had amendments that they came back with. There were parts of that proposal they did not accept that they asked for changes to. So that's not a full acceptance, just as a factual matter.
But it's also factual that it's the Israeli Prime Minister.
I'm just Said, I'm just saying as a factual matter, what you said is not correct.
Okay. All right, let me ask you just a couple of things in your response to Daphne on. Now, U.S. officials don't believe that Israel is preparing to invade Lebanon. You don't believe that Israel will invade Lebanon?
So I don't know where you got that assessment from. I'm not making any public assessment.
Okay. Some are saying that they
some
don't
are saying the mythical. I never like to reply to the mythical some are saying. If you have a specific thing to refer to, I'm happy to.
Okay. Well,
otherwise, I'll speak to what the State Department believes and what the State Department is doing.
Let me then deal with this from a different point. Do you believe that Israel is preparing to invade Lebanon?
So, as I said, in response to I think Daphne and Jenny's question, I will let every other country speak for what it is doing, what it is planned to do, and I will speak for what the United States is doing. And the United States continues to push for a de-escalation of tensions, not an escalation.
Mm-hmm. Let me just have a couple more questions with the indulgence of my colleagues. Israel is blocking about over 40% of food assistance into Gaza, according to the HuffPost. Are you aware of these statistics? And can you update us on the latest level of U.S. aid to Gaza?
So I'm not aware of that specific statistic. I can tell you that it's getting food, water, medicine continues to be something that we work on. We have seen something of a stabilizing of the levels of food and water coming in. Not a sufficient level, but when things got to a really dire level, they have come back up from kind of what that floor was several months ago. It's something that we continue to work on every day. But I think our experience over the last 11 months shows us the only way to get a durable delivery of humanitarian assistance into Gaza is to reach a ceasefire. So you have an increased ability to get food, water, medicine, other humanitarian goods to the crossings themselves, and then you have the ability to deliver them from those crossings inside Gaza to the people who need them.
But you are keeping tabs on the level of aid that goes in.
Of course, I don't have the number of trucks that came in at my fingertips. I'm happy to follow up with you after the briefing.
But is it at the same level as it was, when the pier was there, or less or more?
So the level changes, as I think because the truck numbers are public. They're publicized by various UN entities. I don't have them at my fingertips, but they're publicly available, and I'm happy to engage with you after the briefing to get them to you.
And I wanted to ask you about normalization. Yesterday or the day before, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, MBS, said there will be they will not recognize Israel without a Palestinian state. So do you feel that now, we're getting so close to the election, this effort to normalize will be dropped by this administration?
So, Saeed, that is exactly what the Crown Prince said to Secretary Blinken when we met with him in Saudi Arabia on January 8th. And the Secretary came out publicly and said that he had just met with the Crown Prince, and the Crown Prince said there are two things that he needed to see before he could move forward on normalization. One was a ceasefire in Gaza, and one was a legitimate path to two states. So that has been his position, and we have publicly discussed his position for some time.
I'm aware, but I'm saying that as the calendar, as the window closes, do you feel that it's going to be further effort by the administration to pursue normalization.
Every day that goes by, it gets tougher to accomplish anything. That's just a temporal fact. We continue to believe, however, that long-term, of course, normalization of relations between Saudi Arabia and Israel is in the interests of both countries. It's in the region, as is the establishment of an independent Palestinian state, which Saudi Arabia has made very clear is inextricably linked to normalization. All of those things are in the interests of Israel. They're in the interest of Palestinians. They're in the interest of the broader region. Now, we are obviously quite aware of the challenges that we face in getting to those now. The fighting in Gaza continues to wage on. We continue to work to get a ceasefire. But as a long-term goal, of course, it has not changed as one of our foreign policy goals. Yeah, Hudson.